With entrepreneurship started over a decade ago when I didn't even realize it. I had gone to the US, just finished high school, and I called my dad and said, hey, I've gotten into Texas A&M University and the fees are about $20,000 a year, so please send the check. And he said, well, 20 years ago when we went to the US, our parents didn't have any money. So I'll give you a phone number you can call on, and have an opportunity to create your own business. Otherwise, there are great schools in Ahmedabad. You can always come back and I'll pay for the return ticket. So I called that number and I showed up in Nashville, Tennessee and, talked about the kind of entrepreneurial opportunity it is. And they said, well, what you do is you have to go out and sell books door to door. And I said, well, what kind of books? Bibles. Educational books. I wasn't even a Christian. I said, well, but how much money do I make? Well, how can we tell you that? It's purely just depending on how much you can sell. There's no salary. So if you can't sell, at the end of the day when you leave, you write us a check. I said, this is unbelievable. I said, okay, well, where do I go? Where do I stay? I said, we don't know that. You go through 1 week of training. At the end, you pick up a chit and it has the name of the city where you go. Talk of risk-taking, and I didn't have a choice. Either go back to Ahmedabad or go do this. So I said, all right, sounds good. Went through the training, picked up the chit, and the city was Talladega, Alabama. A large town of 18,000 people in the remote south in the US. You got an Indian kid, fresh in the US for about a year. It's about 110 degrees outside with a 40-pound book bag trying to sell. So I called my dad again. I thought he was nuts actually, but at that point. But I called my dad again and I said, well, I'm here and I need a car because, everybody has one to sell the books. And he said, well, 20 years ago, our parents didn't have any money. And I said, but, I don't have that problem. My parents have money, why should I? But anyway, I said, there's no point arguing here. So we go to a church and the priest makes an announcement that there's some kids will sell books. Anyone want to, offer them a place to live? You obviously don't know where you're going to be. So everybody comes, says, welcome to Alabama, and kind of moves on. Nobody steps up to give us a place. Finally, a gentleman does. And anyway, make a long story short, started out, the minimum requirement was 80 hours a week. So the value of hard work for the first time kind of kicked in. And that's the minimum that you had to do. And I was out there knocking on doors, housewives slamming them at me. Nobody wanted anything I wanted to buy. Second, third house dogs jumping at me. But at the end of the day, I think there were two very important lessons. I came home with a $2,600 check that first summer. Went back second and third summer, built a team, then made 15,000, so on and so forth, and paid for school. But I think there was a very important lesson there. Number one was the ability to sell. All our lives, we are always selling, whether it's ourselves, whether it's a dream that for my most current venture I was selling to my investors, whether it's that same dream I was selling to my team members to try to get the absolute best people to build this company, whether it's selling that product or service to my clients. So I think at the end of the day, the ability to sell that it taught me to connect with rich, poor people, make 20 demos a day and be able to do that was very powerful. And I think the second thing, the risk-taking ability, for what Kiran mentioned about the fearlessness for failure. Because every door I knocked, every no I got, I knew that I was closer to a yes. And so that was very powerful, that lesson of being able to take no, being able to take rejection, but not give up and continue on. I think those were two important lessons that came out of a very early experience that have been very, very valuable in my future success after that.